Simon Told Helen wins a half length. Zach Manelli second.
Welcome to Greyhound Gossip.
Peaky Blinders start cheering for Tommy Shelby wins the WA Sprint Championship final.
Featuring Peter O'Neill and Leah Ernest.
Mozza moves up to Mermaid Manelli. Fab's Gem 3 deep. Here comes Fab's Gem.
Hard style Rico by 5 lengths to Simon Told Helen. Third Tommy Shelby.
This segment is dedicated to the discussion and promotion of greyhound racing.
Cindy's Oliver, Rockstar Patriot, Paul Stewart, back-to-back with Rockstar Patriot in the Galaxy.
Handsome Prince, a bolter clear. The former Tasmanian Handsome Prince has won the $1 million chase.
And a very good morning, everyone tuned in to Greyhound Gossip this Monday. And, of course, a very good morning to you, Peter O'Neill.
And Leah, good morning to you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome along to Greyhound Gossip. Big weekend of greyhound racing. We'll get to Sydney in a moment. Jason Lincoln will be joining us later, and we'll talk about your experiences over there with Panama Pepper. But first of all, a very good card on Friday and Saturday night. The WA Bred Championship heats being the feature. Granite Song winning for Johnny Carmody, getting across in the quickest qualifier from box number 7. And then we saw Capito for Margaret Heppel knock off Jimmy's Decision. Electrified's winning run come to an end as well. And you have the box draw and also the market Tab Touch. Good to see them have a market up nice and early for this feature final.
It is indeed, Peter. No surprises here after Granite Song qualified the quickest. Now draws box 1 and is the favourite at $2.65. Box 2, a Glorious Gun at $13. 3, Weston Finn also 13. 4, Scout About at $41. Box 5, Firecloud at $15. Box 6, Capito, $3.60. Box 7, Hinto, $6.50. And out wide, we've got Jimmy's Decision in the 8 at $5.50. Marunga Scorpion and Weston Bray, the reserve runners.
Yeah, looking forward to the final coming up on Saturday night, and I hope Jason Lincoln's on board because we're about to head across to Sydney and introduce Jason to the program. And Jason, as we say good morning to you, we'll talk about the $1 million chase in a moment and Leah's experience over there on Friday night. But big news coming out of Western Australia last week with the richest greyhound race ever held in Western Australia to be run during our autumn next April with the launch of a slot race here in Western Australia called the Sandgroper, and we're offering $500,000 in the Western Trilogy. It's going to be called the Sandgroper. What was your thoughts on the announcement last week, and also how's it been accepted over there on the East Coast?
Yeah, g'day Pete, g'day Leah. Yeah, obviously very, very good to see you guys getting a new race as such. We spoke, didn't we, earlier on in the year about your Perth Cup and how it needs a bit of a cash injection, certainly in terms of where it lies on the landscape of Australian greyhound racing, and comparatively, of course, with the other codes you've got over there as well, where your Group 1 sort of pales in comparison prize money-wise. So, yeah, no, it's absolutely good to see. How was it received? I'll always be honest when I come on here, Pete. I would say that the choice of dates as an announcement, that might have worked for the other two codes, but didn't work for ours. Your announcement came out on Thursday. On Friday, we had the announcement of the slot holders for the Phoenix and also the MDC. So if I'm 100% honest with you, Pete, it raised everyone's attention for about 24 hours, and I'd say everyone's forgotten about it already.
Well, $44,000 per slot, so it's different than the Phoenix, of which the Dogs WA were involved last year. The Friday the 14th of April, the date, a week after the Golden Easter egg, so the finalists can come across to Perth if they decide to secure a slot. And do you think, and Western Australia is opening it up this year for different betting companies and different organisations across Australia, do you think we'll have any trouble in being able to fill those slots? 8 of them, of course, $500,000 up for grabs, $300,000 to the winner, and it closes on Wednesday the 26th of October.
Look, again, my personal opinion probably differs to what my hopes are. Obviously, I hope that it's very, very well received. My personal opinion, and this is just gauged on the response to the Phoenix, and I know the response to the Phoenix this year, and I don't want to give it too much away, but getting 8 was a bit of a battle this year, I think, for the Phoenix. You said 44,000 plus GST. It's nearly 50k. And as you said, it's a week after the egg, and it's 500,000 in prize money. But as we know with these slot races, the slot holder's going to want to return, and generally they're going to take 50%. So again, our code's different to the other two codes because we train on a 50-50 here. So 500k is going to be chopped up 4 ways before the owner sees any of it. It's 125k to the owner if everyone sort of takes their 50-50. So also it does look like a big carrot, Pete. Again, if you've just knocked over a golden Easter egg, I don't know whether you're going to be bothered flying over to Perth for a 125 grand race. Again, I really hope that I'm wrong about it, but look, as I said, with GST, it's nearly 50k for the slot, and you've just got the tyranny of distance is the big issue for Perth, really, isn't it?
I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I thought people like Joe Lanuti, who's got She's a Pearl and others in his kennel, and obviously with you behind Joe, with a strong eye on the greyhounds over there, I thought Joe would probably take a slot, and maybe even someone over here in Western Australia like a Steve Withers, who's won a little bit of cash recently with Tommy Shelby and has a greyhound in his care at the moment, Panama Pepper, who would be well suited.
Yeah. Well, the issue is the returns, Pete. You're only getting a return if you run first or second. If you run third in a race, you're going to lose if you're the slot holder. So, again, it's the metrics around the prize money split. It's one of the issues with the Phoenix as well. But if we have a $500,000 race in theory, and you're buying a slot, then you shouldn't be running third and not at least getting your stake back. In terms of Joe, look, I'd be very surprised if She's a Pearl's racing in another 6 months' time. I would have thought it's going to be a lot bigger carrot. I would have thought, or a bit shinier if you're a local. I think one of the other little issues, Peyton, you can correct me if I'm looking at this wrong. If I want to sell it as a weekend of a racing extravaganza, and absolutely they should. It's a rare treat when one state can throw up those 3 races in a short space of time. But if I'm here and I want to get a tour group together, I can't sell it that we can go over and watch all 3 races. I mean, having the trot race and the dog race on the same night sort of cancels that out. I think that'll probably hurt a little bit as well in terms of eyeballs and getting people across from interstate.
I thought that our race would have been on the Saturday, but talking to those that put it together, our highest turnover is the Friday. So I understand that. And I also should note that while there's, and it's similar, I'm pretty sure, with the Phoenix, that 4th to 8th, you get a $15,000 return. So you're not losing the whole amount. And obviously everything you go into, there's a risk that you're going to lose at some stage, if you don't obviously win.
Yeah, I get that. But, I mean, you're only getting a return if you're on first or second, Pete. So, I get that when you run 5th through 8th that, there's going to be as you said, there's going to be a small loss and you'd accept that. But like I said, if you're running in the top 3, I think you should be at least getting your money back anyway.
Looking forward to it anyway. What about the $1 million chase, Leah, as you come back in? What was your experience? It was a brilliant run by Panama Pepper and was beaten by a dog, and I'll get Jason's thoughts in a moment after you give us your thoughts, but beaten by a dog that improved lengths there on Friday night.
Well, Pete, to be honest, a lot of people have asked me or have said, it's so disappointing. You ran second, which is so close to getting in to the MDC final. You've made that trip and everyone just expects me to be extremely upset. But to be honest, I look at the bigger picture, Pete, and I know Jason might agree with me on this, but for Pepper's second run at Wentworth Park to run 29.47, and to put that into perspective, 64 dogs ran around for the heats, and that's the second quickest time out of the whole night. So, I really cannot be disappointed. That is a superb run by Pepper.
And Johnny Finn knows how to improve him, Jace.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen that with Zipping Alabama and over the past few weeks, and certainly Gatlin's improved quite astronomically in the past. And it's not just been the last week with him, although that was stark. But go back a couple of months ago, he was pulling up in races, Gatlin, so they've done a reasonable job to get him to finish his races off. The point you make's well made, Pete. I don't know what his PB around there before was, 60-odd, 70-odd, so he's jumped off the moon. And as Leah said, you don't have to be dead to be stiff. Second or third quickest time of the night. Panama doesn't qualify, so unlucky. lost the war, didn't win the battle though, and if he punches onto Melbourne, I'm sure he'll compete really well.
He's currently $6.50 first reserve. We're hoping over here in the Western layer is as well that there is a scratching. What do you make of the box draw? I'll go through the box draw and also the market. So McInerney in 1, he's on fire 2. Zipping Kyrgios 3. Anglin Louis, I think it's pronounced in 4. Gatlin 5. Hold Me Up 6. French Martini 7. Zipping Alabama in box 8. Tab Touch has Gatlin as the favourite at $3.30. French Martini at $3.80 and $6 about McInerney drawn in box number 1.
Yeah, I would have a much different opinion to the market. I don't like Gatlin at all, drawn inside of Hold Me Up. I don't like Zipping Alabama from box 8. I think the Reds, what price did you say the Red was?
$6.
Yeah, I think he's over the odds. And the checks are still 26, something like that?
21 with Tab Touch, he's on fire.
21? Okay. I think they're the two bets in the race, personally. Checks is unleadable. 5:30 to the mark there on Saturday again. And he got his time down a little bit, 29.70, and look, it won't take 29.20 to win the race. You've just got to get out in front and out of trouble. That'd be the two bets for me, Pete, 1 and 2 there. He'll give, he's on fire, will give McInerney plenty of room because, well, he gets out like a shot in any case. He'd probably be a length in front of him after 6 strides, but he wants to push up the track, and then McInerney will also want to just follow him up the track. So I think it'll work out for both those dogs.
And what about the Sydney Cup Super Estrella, $1.55, box number 1? Do you just put in, take out?
Yes, absolutely. What did I say the other way? It's like picking it up off the ground. Well, yeah, look, she won't get beat, Pete. Oh, look, to be fair, Kansas was awesome on Saturday. So if he repeats that performance, absolutely he can beat her. But as we've found with him, Pete, he doesn't often put two of the same runs together, does he?
No. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to the $1 million chase. Just before we let you go, and we appreciate your time this morning, what did you make of your bitch's run? She's a pearl.
Disappointing. Look, she plenty of interference. If you watch the head on again, the 7 just gave it to her all the way down the straight, but she didn't jump as well as she did last preparation. It's as simple as that, Pete. Can't make excuses for them when there aren't any.
No. All right. Thanks for your time. Looking forward to it, and make sure, I'm sure you'll be promoting our big race coming up, the Sandgroper on the catching pen later this week. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. I do love the name, I've got to say, the Sandgroper. Never seen one, but I love the name.
Good on you, mate. Have a good week.
All right.
Good on you. That's Jason Lincoln joining us from Sky Racing, and I'm pretty sure that you'd be excited about the Sandgroper. Gives us over here in the West layer something to promote going into the autumn next year, and I'm sure that we'll get a lot of eyes from the East Coast looking on the Sandgroper when it's run in April next year. Yeah,
it's a really exciting time to have a good dog going around, Pete.
Yeah, it certainly is. Just before we get to Tom Buchanan, who's our next special guest, Granite Song has come up as the $2.65 favourite in the Westbred final, ahead of Capito, drawn out in 6 at $3.60, and Hinto at $6.50. Jimmy's Decision $5.50. Did you go? You went through the box draw before, didn't you, Leah? Yes, you did.
Yes.
I was listening. Granite Song, the favourite there at $2.65. We're about to be joined by Tom Buchanan. And most of our listeners this morning would know of Tom, for they watch Greyhound racing on a Friday night at Mandurah, and of course on Sky Racing. Tom Buchanan does all of the late mail and interviews from the track at Gloucester Park. He does a great job. He tips a lot of winners, and he's also going to be raising a lot of money for his little niece and for a very good cause in the Ride for Alia 2022, when he rides to raise money for his niece who passed away 18 months ago. Alia is her name. And Tom Buchanan joins us on Greyhound Gossip this morning. Tom, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Pete. Good morning, Lara. Thanks for having me on the show.
Pleasure to have you on. Before we get into what you're doing and how you're raising the money, can we go back, probably 2 years ago, when your sister and you and the family were given the devastating news that little Alia had come down with a cancer, and you can explain to our listeners what that cancer was and how it just devastated your family.
Yeah, Pete, Alia was diagnosed with diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma, which is a rare children's cancer. It's a highly aggressive and difficult to treat tumour that's found at the base of the brain. So there's no effective treatments for DIPG. It's inoperable. You can't get in there and remove the tumour. And the current survival rate of DIPG is zero. These children are really given no hope, and the families are told to go home and make memories. So, my family were faced with the devastation of a DIPG diagnosis back in June of 2020 when Alia was diagnosed, and she only survived 5 months post her diagnosis. So it's a devastating tumour. It's very rare, and there's not a lot known about it outside the people that are putting in the research to try and advance research and treatments on this particular tumour. There's just so little known about it. So dedicating a large bit of my life, Pete, to raise some money for an Australian charity that's dedicated to putting the work in and giving these families some sort of hope in the future.
Tom, we've had a chat about this off air before, and you mentioned that when Alia was diagnosed that you guys didn't really even know much about it, and I myself didn't know much about it. So do you think doing this, not only does it help raise money, but also builds awareness around DIPG? Yeah,
absolutely, Leah. And I think that's, almost as important as the money we are raising is, as you mentioned, I'd never heard of this particular cancer. None of my family had, and I still have discussions with people to this day that, if you mention DIPG or diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma, like it's completely unknown in, most people that you have a discussion with. And it's this awareness that is so important to get it out there because, there is being so much money raised for so many different cancers, and it's great. It's great money for these cancers, these breast cancers, prostate cancers, but they're such well-known cancers that there is so much money and funding going into them. And this particular cancer that's so rare is getting very little. So, I tell a lot of people, if you can't put any money towards this ride, at least share the information that I'm putting out there because, as you said, it increases awareness, and that's just as important.
Tom, tell us a bit about the ride and what you're doing to raise funds.
Yeah, so the ride for Alia is this is the second year that I'm doing it. Last year I did it in March, and it's a 260-kilometre ride that I complete in one day. And I thought I would just reiterate that because I've had a few discussions with people that ask me when the ride occurs, and I say October 1st, and then they say, oh, when does it finish? And I'm like, October 1st. Like I get it all done in the one day. So it's a pretty brutal day. It's around 9.5 to 10 hours on the bike. Start about 4 or 5 in the morning and finish about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's extremely difficult. It's hot. It's really challenging, but that's exactly what I wanted it to be because I wanted people to look at this and go, wow, like he's achieving something pretty incredible. It's worthy to have some money raised for it. And that way it's not only a great cause in terms of the charity and the tumour that we're raising money for, but it's a pretty incredible accomplishment that hopefully we'll be able to achieve in Saturday week, only around, 13, 14 days away now.
And Tom, tell us where you start and where you finish, and I believe that some of the places that you go through are some of the favourite places that Alia love to go.
Yeah, so we start in Windy Harbour, which is right on the south coast of Western Australia. So if you go past like Manjimup, Pemberton, you'll go through Northcliffe. If you keep heading south, you'll get to Windy Harbour, which is it's really just a little holiday destination on the coast, which I grew up spending time at, and then as we grew up and my sister grew up, my sister and her husband Bryce spent a lot of time down there with Alia and Zach. So, as I said, a family holiday destination that Alia spent a lot of time at. I thought it was quite fitting to start it there, and then we ride all the way up through those towns I mentioned, through Nannup, Kirrip, all the way back up to Leschenault. And last year I finished at my mum and dad's place, which is obviously a place pretty special to Alia as well. She loved being out there with her nanny and PB, and so it was really just the two places that I landed on that turned out to be a pretty good distance of 260, which is a distance that I can complete in one day. And that's how I came about those places. But it's a pretty grueling ride with a lot of hills, but I'm thoroughly looking forward to it.
I go riding with Sharon, as you know. We did, and it's Sharon's birthday today, so a very happy birthday to the beautiful Sharon. But we rode, I think, 17 kilometres yesterday at an average speed of 23 k's. Tommy, what's your average that you'll be doing over the 260?
Last year we did the 260 at an average of 27.5, I think it was. And this year we'll be probably aiming for somewhere around that. It might not be quite as quick because this year's the first year that we've opened it up to other riders to sign up. So there'll be a few more people involved, and we have different starting points. There'll be a couple of people coming in and joining us from Nana, which is just the last 120 Ks. And I think it's great for cycling that a couple of these people are relatively inexperienced cyclists who haven't done a lot of cycling, and it's a great way to introduce them to a new sport, but also it's, so appreciated that they've come on board to support me as well. So, it could be a little bit slower this year given the different ability levels of a couple of the cyclists, but at the end of the day, it's not a race. It's a day to create awareness and funds, and hopefully it's a great day. I'm sure it will be.
I'm sure it will. Now, last year you raised around $45,000. You've got a great team on board with some great sponsors this year. Mention the sponsors, and you're already up to $75,000. How much do you expect and hope to raise?
We're a tick under 76 at the moment, and I had a dinner with the riders the other night just to have a chat about the day before the day occurred and how things will work and things like that. And we set ourselves a goal to get to 90,000, which would be double what we did last year. So we're 14,000 short of that, and we've only got a week and a bit to go. So it might be a bit of a stretch, but it's good to have that goal and try and work towards that. So hopefully anyone out there that's listening that might have a dollar or two to spare to put towards the ride, which, as you've heard, it's going to an incredible cause. So anyone out there that can help us get to that goal of $90,000 would be great. But as you mentioned, we've had, I think we're up to 20 major sponsors at the moment, which is absolutely outstanding, and it's probably surpassed what I thought would be possible. But the support of those sponsors to help us get to our goal by putting in really big amounts is really helpful. And one of them is obviously a great sponsor of harness racing in Western Australia and Retrovision, and the four other gold sponsors that I'll rip through are Subaru, Constructive PD, Core Scaffolding and Australian Premix. So they're the five businesses that have put on really big amounts, and we've got them as gold sponsors this year.
Tom, I know there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes to get something like this going, and we wish you the best of luck. Before we let you go, can you let our listeners know where they can go to donate to the cause?
Yeah, so the website's a little bit tricky to read out on air. So I think the best way is if you Google Ride for Alia, spelt AHLIA, Ride for Alia 2022, I think it'll be the first search that comes on. And we've got our own website. That's the best way to find it. Other ways for anyone that uses Facebook and Twitter and things like that, if you search my pages, I've shared a lot of flyers and things like that where people can go to either donate or sponsor. And, of course, anyone that's floating around those towns on October 1st, feel free to come down and support us as well. That would be greatly appreciated on the day too.
Good on you, Tom. Thanks for joining us this morning and sharing your story. I know it's very hard to talk about the loss of Alia, and to your sister and your family, we wish you all the best, and we wish you all the best and congratulate you on what you're doing. A great job there coming up in just over 7 or 8 days' time. Yeah,
thanks, Pete. Thanks, Pete and Leah, and especially to you, Pete. You've been a huge supporter of mine, and we've talked about it a number of times on TAB radio over the last couple of months. So the awareness that you're helping me create is really appreciated. So thanks for having me on today.
Good on you. Tom Buchanan joining us on Greyhound Gossip. Leah, we've got Greyhound racing today coming up from Northern once again. And I just wanted to finish off on Greyhound Gossip today, mentioning the win in the last race on Saturday night at Cannington of Rollout. He finally reached his 50th win, and there's only been a handful of greyhounds that have won 50 races in Western Australia in their careers, and many of them actually won races on the East Coast. Rollout's won all of his 50 races in WA. He's won in excess of up to $80,000 in stake money for the Powered by 9 syndicate managed by Damon Fardig, and Jimmy Hastings and all the team, and trained by Terry Earnshaw. He's always looked after the dog. I'm not sure whether we'll see him again. I'm sure the boys will make a decision this week. It might have been his final race, but he has been a wonderful chaser, and not too many greyhounds come up with 50 wins, so congratulations to them. And it was great to actually see him win that final race there on Saturday night.
Oh, it's fantastic. We love to see, especially when they do all that right here in WA.
It certainly do. We're taking a break for a few weeks as well. I'm taking some leave, so no greyhound gossip until about the middle of October. I'll be back, so we'll have plenty of news to talk about then. Enjoy race day.